Hey everyone, Maybe So here, bringing you the first installment in a new series called When Trades Go Wrong. Obviously, we want trades to go right all the time, but every now and then, either we make a mistake putting the trade on, or we make a mistake taking the trade off. And this is a series of what to do when that happens. And so, I bring you When Trades Go Wrong. So let me set the stage for how I made this mistake. I stream mornings, Monday through Friday, when the stock market opens. When I'm streaming, I'm frequently interacting with my viewers. When I went to put on this earnings trade in Schlumberger, I was talking to the viewers at the same time. So here's what I intended to do. You can see right now I'm checking out the possibility of putting on a straddle. I realized that there's not enough premium to collect in Schlumberger with only 1 day to go in the expiration cycle to collect for a straddle. So I decide that I want to put on a ratio spread. In the channel, I mostly trade options. Price. I think this might be setting up for a ratio spread. But if you watch carefully, here's where I make the mistake. I move the short put down to 15.5, and I increase the quantity to 2. Everything's fine there. But what I've done wrong here is I started with a straddle and not a put vertical spread. So when I flip the $16 option from short to long, it's a call and not a put. Instead of a 2-to-1 put ratio spread, I have some sort of variation of a Super Bowl with 2 short puts and 1 long call, both of which are bullish positions. I realize that I may have already lost a few people here. So I'm going to take a moment now to pause, go over the 2 trades, 1 that I intended to put on, and 2 what I actually put on, and look at the profit profiles to see how they differ. Okay, because time has passed, I can't replicate the exact scenario, but we're going to use Schlumberger again the day after. So it closed at just under $15. Let's use the closest expiration date we can to replicate. So the trade that we had put on had 1 day to expiration. We're going to use the one with 7 days to expiration. It's the closest one that we can use right now. And here's again how I started and messed up. I started with a straddle. For this sake, we'll move down to 14.5 instead of 15.5. And then I flipped the call from short to long. So this is basically what I had. And here's why I didn't catch it. When we put on ratio spreads like this, we look to collect very small amounts of credit. In this case, it's showing 5 cents. When I put the trade on before, it was just a penny. The reason why we're willing to put on a trade to collect where we collect such a small credit is because we can make more than the amount that we sell if the stock ends up in between our short and long strikes. So in the case of the earnings trade that I put on, Schlumberger was trading just over $16 the night before its earnings. I sold the 2 of the 15.5 puts. If Schlumberger stayed where it was or went up, I would collect that penny and the options would expire worthless. No big deal, no real profit, and no real loss. But if the stock dropped down to 15.5, like it did on the open, I could make the full 50 cents. Unfortunately, that's not the trade that I put on. As you can see here on my activity tab, I realized that at the open when I went to close the trade, I was looking to make close to the full 50 cents. Instead, I had to close for a 5-cent debit. The trade went from being a nice 1-day winner to a 4-cent loser. So let's look at the profit profile of this trade. It's not one that you would normally put on. Like I said, 2 short puts and a long call isn't a popular strategy. But you can see here, it's very bullish and has unlimited upside as the long call continues up here to the right. But let's compare this to the trade that I wanted to put on. If I had started with put vertical and moved my long put to 15 and changed my short put at 14.5 to a second, you get what you normally expect to see with a ratio spread and or a big lizard. A peak right at your short strikes and no risk to the upside. In this case, I would have been able to collect 35 cents. So that's what would have happened if the stock had stayed up or stayed where it was or gone up. You do have unlimited risk to the downside, which I was willing to accept because Schlumberger is already a low price stock and I didn't think it could go much lower. So this shows what would have, like I said, the peak profit for the trade is right here. And that's exactly what happened. But because I put on the trade incorrectly, I didn't make this profit. So at the end of the day, this mistake was no one's fault but my own. It may have been because I was distracted talking to my chat. It may have been because I was just not paying that close of attention. And thankfully, it wasn't a very expensive mistake. It did cost me about $50 in profit, but I'm not going to lose sleep over that. What I am going to do is make sure every time I put a put ratio spread or a call ratio spread that I have the proper options selected before I clicked submit. Hopefully you found this video helpful. This is the first in the series, and I already have a second one ready to go because on the same day, I made another mistake on an earnings trade. So if you're interested in seeing that, click the link in the top to that video. And if you enjoy this video and the ones that just like it that I make, please subscribe to my channel, click the notify bell, and give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you've ever done something similar to this, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. This has been Trades Gone Wrong.